The following are the words of Lou Civello, president of the Suffolk County Police Benevolent Association.
Police officers risk their lives to protect our communities and keep our streets safe. These officers are the thin blue line that stands between your family and the criminals that would do them harm. We are your neighbors, protecting your neighborhood. Hold the line. Support law enforcement. Stand with the Suffolk County PBA.
The following radio show is live, except for the announcement you're hearing right now.
Welcome back to Your Island Live with your host, Tom Shalero, on 103.9 LI News Radio.
And once again, welcome back as we're moving right along. Tuesday edition. Every other Tuesday we have with us the president of the Suffolk County PBA, Lou Civello, working so hard out there. There's so many issues. When you really think about what policing is all about and how do we safeguard the rights of the men and women who represent us in the streets and in the sector cars and the detective divisions, and I can go on and on and on, and which makes Suffolk County such a great place to live. It is safety and security. Yes, we have great political leadership. You hear them on this show all the time. But when you want to get down to the brass tacks of this whole thing, it's who does the job out there on the streets. And without a doubt, we've got 7 great precincts. We got a patrol division that is impeccable when it comes to so many different things. But let's say hello. Lou Civello, how are you, my friend?
Doing very well, Tom. Great to be with you.
I watch what goes on all over the country. And I try to compare what makes Suffolk County different. And there's certainly a lot of things that make Suffolk County different. But sometimes the more things change, the more things stay the same. We work hard at it. It just doesn't come to us. We're lucky in Suffolk County and Nassau County that we have elected officials that are spot on. An incident occurred Sunday night, not in our jurisdiction, right across the Long Island Sound. I'm sure you've been to Boston a number of times, and they have a mayor there who I think landed, or she's an extraterrestrial. I don't think she has an understanding. I want you to hear her words just for like 30, 40 seconds or whatever long this clip is. Let's play clip 1.
My condolences and all of our thoughts are with the family of the individual whose life has been lost, and I'm also thinking of all the people who were impacted here today.
All right, now I'm pretty sure, Lou, you know what happened there. An off-duty police officer. What is he doing? He's off-duty. He's going to Chick-fil-A. He's going to pick up some chicken, whatever the heck he's doing, and bring him back to his family. And out comes some crazy guy, 32 years old. He's got a knife, and he's chasing this law-abiding couple down the street. Chasing them with a knife. Now, you and I both know, Lou, we've seen this happen in the New York City subway system. We have individuals that like to go into our subways and slash people. They had one guy who was arrested 87 times, 12 different slashings or stabbings of people. And because it's New York City, Alvin Bragg, release. NYPD doing their job, catching them. But they got to keep on catching them. Well, they had the same thing in Boston. So this guy is out chasing this couple. The couple runs into a Chick-fil-A. Doesn't matter to this guy if it's Chick-fil-A, McDonald's, or an alleyway. He's still going to try to stab them. Lo and behold, an off-duty officer says, wow, look at this. I got to do something. He pulls out his off-duty weapon, and he points it at the guy and said, drop the knife. Police, drop the knife. There's the commands that you know so well, that your officers know so well. The individual does not drop the weapon, does not give up the threat. The officer then had to use deadly physical force. The man expires. All right, he died. But the 2 people he was chasing didn't die, Lou. And as a result of that, you just heard the mayor. Now, for someone that didn't know who the mayor was talking about, might have been thinking it was a victim. It wasn't the victim. It was, we express our condolences for this individual that lost his life. Lou, am I getting excited over nothing, or are we orbiting another planet right now?
No, you're absolutely spot on, Tom. And it just shows how divorced from reality that mayor is. I mean, thank God that brave officer was there in time to take action and prevent people from being killed. But what the mayor is doing is making a hero out of this individual that was going to go on a killing spree. And what she's going to do is she's going to inspire other people to do this sort of thing. So when you have people that are mentally ill that are looking at this says, hey, the mayor is treating this person as a martyr. I mean, what does that do? How does that make our streets safer? You're going to have more of these instances. And we just had in Suffolk County one of these where random attacks and I saw the video, Tom. I don't think the video has been released to the public, but where this 6 foot something, 300-pound individual just holds off and cold cocks another individual in the face, I think with a wrench or a pipe. So, I mean, is this what we want? Do we want to inspire these people? Do we want to embolden these people? This mayor, one of the worst mayors in the absolute country in Boston, should be ashamed of herself. Just a vile and reckless statement.
You know, again, I was watching her statement. That's why I've been playing it on the air, so that I realize, first of all, how lucky we are in Suffolk County. And you mentioned that incident that you just brought up. You tell me one Suffolk County police officer on duty or off duty that would not take immediate action in a life and death situation against a Suffolk County resident. Could that ever happen? No, they would take that action. And would they get the backing from County Executive Ed Romaine?
In a heartbeat, they take that action to prevent loss of life to the citizens here in Suffolk County. And I am certain that County Executive Romaine would back us. He has backed us. He has been incredibly supportive. He supports our law enforcement officers. He works very hard to make sure that we have the resources we need to make sure our neighborhoods and streets are safe in Suffolk County.
Yeah, I mean, this is not a joke with this mayor. I'm talking about Mayor Wu, Michelle Wu. She says this, I mean, to me, again, flabbergasted over the whole thing. So I wanted to follow up a little bit. And I said, well, let me find out about this officer. Good officer. In fact, the counterpart of the Suffolk County PBA is in Boston. And your counterpart, the president of the Boston PBA, they might have a different name, Lou, I'm not exactly sure, basically said the same thing you just said. So there is a common thread of common sense that exists. And I was happy to see that. You didn't see the Boston PBA, come up with some sort of spin or anything like that. They said he's a hero. He took action. He saved lives and so on. But what we aren't talking about is that officer had to be taken to the hospital because of the traumatic event. You know, this isn't Dirty Harry, where he walks in, gets some coffee, the waitress gives him more sugar than necessary to alert him of the danger in the diner, and then he goes out, still drinks his coffee, and he shoots the bad guys. That's Hollywood. That's not reality. This officer had to take a life off duty and had to be able to deal with that with counseling and the help that he's going to get from the first responders and from the hospitals and the mental health professionals and so on. Are we forgetting that, Lou, you think, across this country?
We do. We forget it all too often. And we're just about a year anniversary of the suicides that we had here in Suffolk County. So if you recall, Tom, about this time last year, we had 2 back-to-back suicides in the Suffolk County Police Department. We had 2 others amongst Suffolk County law enforcement in general. And it just shows you how cumulative this is. So you have something like you just described, where you have this one terrible incident that you have to deal with and you'll have to learn to cope with for the rest of your life. But also on top of that, add the trauma that you see every day, those domestics, those CPR cases, those cases where you see the absolute worst in life. You know, that weighs on you. And it just goes to show the need for a mental health program nationally, certainly here in Suffolk County and in New York State, but some sort of national mental health program for law enforcement officers. It's something that we've strived, after tragically losing our brothers here in Suffolk County, to improve upon. I know in the PBA, Tom, we've done a number of things. We put together a program with the Warrior Ranch, where we send our officers out to spend some time on the ranch, doing things with horses, seeking mental health therapy through nature. We have put together a program of our peer team when we have critical incidents. When we just almost lost Officer Brendan Gallagher, all the officers involved with that incident that responded to him and helped him, we made sure that our peer team were in the precincts, that the officers had an outlet, someone to talk to amongst their own peer group. The department has recently put a program together with a therapy dog, where we're going to have a full-time therapy dog and therapy dog handler that will be traveling to the various commands for that dog, and it's going to be allocated for mental health purposes. So we are trying to make strides here, Tom, but we definitely need some more resources when it comes to officer mental health.
And I think we need to put that out there, because all too often there's so many anti-policing websites out there and anti-police. Most of them who have been in jail, most of them who are criminally minded, and I speak from some authority with that, because I watch some of these YouTubers. I know they've spent time in state prison. So what do? They talk about the police in such a negative dynamic, when you and I can talk about reality. And I get sometimes, again, I use the word frustrated a lot. You become frustrated because sometimes people will watch these the police, when in essence they are the people that we put into state prison, who get out and find a way to make money by going after our police officers. And I wish there'd be more backing by Albany against this sort of thing. And again, your point of helping our officers, and if we go back to this one in Boston right now, he is seeking that help. Do you think for a minute he thought that he would have to use deadly physical force inside a Chick-fil-A while he's picking up food for his family? I mean, that's not something. Yet he took action. That temperament is so important. And if we can get that point across, no matter what it takes, I think policing would take a whole different turn in this country, where more and more people wouldn't see fit for themselves take a negative viewpoint. And I mean, our legislators, with different laws that they're proposing up in Albany that are anti-policing. What say you, Lou?
Yeah, most certainly. And we just saw the whole Daniel Penny episode play out, where regular citizens are unwilling to help, their fellow New Yorker in times of attack. So it's all the more important that our officers are ready to act, whether on or off duty, and defend life and property here in New York State. Unfortunately, what we continue to see is a failure of leadership in Albany. Certainly from the democratically controlled state Senate and the democratically controlled New York State Assembly. I mean, look just what just happened with our corrections officers, Tom, where corrections officers are subjected to such dismal conditions, where they can be assaulted, where they can be, sexually assaulted and attacked, and there are no repercussions, right? Taking away solitary confinement, where there really is no repercussions for these inmates for when they attack our brave corrections officers. And we have to actually have the National Guard, right, come in and take over the prisons. And it's just absolute chaos. It's, all part of the same problem when we prioritize criminals and the welfare of criminals over the welfare of victims and our law enforcement officers. So we need to take a look at our priorities. We need to change things at the state level. We need to change things at the national level. I'm actually in Washington, D.C. right now, Tom. I was invited by our great Congressman Nick LaLota to hear the president speak tonight as he addresses Congress. So I'm very excited about the leadership in the White House and the leadership we have with our Congressman Nick LaLota and Andrew Garbarino. They've been fighting hard for Long Island. They've been fighting hard for our law enforcement officers to get us the resources we need to keep the public safe. And I'm excited to hear what the president has to say tonight.
I didn't know that, but now they told me that, I said, this is great, because now in 2 weeks, we're going to talk about this experience. That to me is amazing that you're there, because I think that's a lot of Americans, including myself, would love to go to a joint session of Congress when the president is speaking. And so we're going to pick your brain apart about that. And that's absolutely Nick LaLota did such a great thing by having you there, because, again, who you represent, what your voice is all about, and how important that is. And I think about what our feelings are about police officers. And I want to go back a number of years, and I know you remember the incident. Actually, it's a long time ago. It's when that individual decided to wait until he was on the Long Island Railroad, and then he waited until it got out of Queens and made it into Nassau County, and he began a shooting spree. I think I'm going to say, I can't even get the right date right on that. It was just a number of years ago. And he was committing an active shooting case right on the Long Island Railroad. He killed a number of victims. Some of them were from Garden City. So what happened there? The Long Island Railroad, or the MTA, made a decision that, we've got to do something. We've got to provide more law enforcement. Why don't we put out there that if you are a cop and you're off duty and you're traveling into the city for dinner, or you're you're going on some sort of civilian responsibility, civilian duty, that you would ride free. I don't know if you remember that program, and whether it's still in existence, I don't know. But I understood that a lot of police officers, after the anti-policing that took place since George Floyd, said that they don't want to get involved. They don't want to make themselves known to a Long Island Railroad conductor that they are an off-duty cop. Then that they're exempt from paying the ticket, but they will take action if action is needed. Whatever happened with that program, Lee?
Yeah, that still is in effect, where we are issued passes to ride the train, and with the expectation that if something happens, that we're going to be there to take action. Conductors will alert us to criminal activity, and police officers are to take action. I think you're right. You know, I have heard from some police officers that they would rather pay for their ticket than be dragged into something where the Manhattan DA is going to try to arrest them.
Right.
You know, you get on that train and you move out of Long Island past the Suffolk border and the Nassau border. Well, now you're in the jurisdiction of, the Wild West, where the DA seeks to lock up police officers rather than enforce the law against violent criminals. So that certainly has been a deterrent to police officers taking action. And I think, think how far we've come, Tom. I can tell you, I was in Stony Brook Hospital visiting a family member recently, and I had my sidearm. I carry my sidearm everywhere I go. I go through, identify myself as a police officer, and the security guard at Stony Brook tells me that I have to lock the gun up, that I can't take it, even as a sworn police officer here in Suffolk County, that I couldn't take the gun into the hospital, so that if somebody else runs in that front door and starts shooting, that I would then be unarmed and unable to take action. Right. So that we've gone from wanting our police officers on the trains, having our police officers prepared and ready to defend the public, to saying, hey, police officer, we don't trust you to have your gun in here. And that's not a reflection on the men and women of Stony Brook. They are absolutely amazing up there, and they do a tremendous amount for us. But think of what's coming from the state, right? Stony Brook is a state hospital. So, that starts at the top, where we're demonizing our police officers and saying, hey, police officer, I don't even want you to have a gun. We don't trust you enough to have a gun inside of our facility. It's just a recipe for a disaster. And again, it just shows how poor the leadership is.
Again, I didn't realize that they had that policy. That is like one of the worst things I've ever heard, policies I've ever heard. Because again, if a madman goes in there and wants to shoot up, you just took the protection away by an added level of protection. And by the way, when I brought up the Long Island Railroad case, the police officers that were able to ride, for free, wanted to help. But in fact, even if they paid for their ticket, Lou, they would help. The reason why there was a reluctance is what you just said. They're not going to get the backing of elected officials in New York City, and they would be putting their own lives in jeopardy, their own freedom in jeopardy, and not having to go through a system. They wanted to help people. Every officer I've ever met, on duty, off duty, even retired, want to help people in a situation if they come up with. But we would need the backing of government and so on. So I just wanted to make that point. And that's what the...
Most certainly. Most certainly, Tom. Yeah, every police officer wants to do their job and wants to protect the public and is willing to risk their lives to do so. But the vacuum of leadership we have here, it almost is a deterrent to police officers being able to do their job. So where you imagine if Chick-fil-A had a policy where you can't take your gun in there. I mean, you look at the incident you just described in Boston, right? We should want our police officers taking the rails. We should want our police officers armed. We should want them ready to take action and to intervene. Unfortunately, the laws here in New York State and the woke Soros DAs have the exact opposite effect.
So I kind of envy you. You're going to the joint session tonight, and supposedly there's going to be some surprise guests there. Trump is saying we have surprise guests. I don't know who they're going to be. You're going to be there. You'll be sitting up in the galley over there. So I think it's real neat. Seconds left. Are you excited?
Oh, I'm thrilled. I'm absolutely thrilled. It is an honor and a privilege to attend this event on behalf of Suffolk County law enforcement. I'm very thankful to Congressman Lalotta for extending an invite to me. And again, I know our president is fighting for our country. Congressman Lalotta is fighting for Long Island, and both of them are fighting for the men and women in uniform who protect the public every day. So many thanks to them.
Once again, Lou Savilla, president of Suffolk County PBA, reporting from Washington, D.C. On our radio show today. Thanks, Lou. We'll talk to you again in 2 weeks.
Thanks, Tom. You got it.
Okay, we're going to take a short break. When we get back, we've got the district attorney, Ray Tierney. Let's see what Ray has to say. We'll be right back.